Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is the first time I've had two people waiting for me to go live. Blessings to all of you. Sweet Pea and Max Vision, both greetings, 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 and giant cosmic hugs for real. As always, I say I am your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor and the respect that you deserve from the infinite creator. And with that, let's start. I'll go jump right into it. Over the last few days, weeks, months, and so forth, and there was a discussion about meditation, and I realized something that the older I've gotten and the more my life has been more as a hermit and following certain hermetic guidelines, if you will. It's basically you just learn how to be natural. You learn how to be natural in natural surroundings as much as possible, and it's actually going backwards to who we really are, going back to a simple time, and so that your day isn't congested with lots of things, so that meditation is an ongoing 24 an hour 20 uh it's 24/7, as as the saying goes. But with that said, so the discussion of truth. Yeah, and as most of you know, I was reposted on Dante's channel, and I want to make a disclaimer or a claimer, as it may be. There are things that I have known, learned, have seen in my lifetime that are absolutely true to me, and Dante discusses them. Now, some would say, well, you're defending Dante in all things and whatever. Please, I'm not trying to defend anyone unless somebody's picking on somebody or something like that. But, if I feel it necessary to step in. My point to this is, and I think my role in this, because I have meditated, prayed, asked Mother Mary, now that this has happened, what I'm going to continue on with the role of talking about shamanism and spirituality and subjects like this, but how does this tie in now with someone whom I've ever met, but I feel very close to, and other people are the same way? And so it's like, but he's talking about things that I know I have lived, but I have lived them as because of my life choice, because of my reincarnation into this life, that I had to go down the Native American path. I had to learn what the red road was because I was very cruel to Native Americans in a previous life. And my sin was that I was a nasty, mean, torturous SOB. And in order for my spirit to uh, become enlightened at all in a, coming back and forth and in and out, I was just one mean son of a bitch. And I know because of events that I have discussed before, and I don't want to bore you all with it, but when I first moved up here to Georgia, I've always been drawn to this area of the county. Had no idea why. There are multiple times over many years I lived in this county, but I lived on the opposite. I live in the southwest corner of Colquitt County now, and I lived in the southeast corner of Colquitt County before. Bottom end of the county, but total opposite ends of the county, and it's a pretty large county. But anyway, my house burned down in in Berlin, or over there on the other side. A ghost woke me up and got us out of the house before the house burned down on top of us, and we weren't hurt. We lost everything, but we got out with our lives. And so there are things that Dante discusses, like spirit worlds or ghosts or orbs. In my channel, I've done several videos, and I show you where I've taken pictures of orbs. I've discussed it in great lengths, and how I go to the Flint River, for example, and I take my drum, and I go and I ask, and I drum, and I take my flute and I play. And it's not necessarily so much as a ceremony of like, well, he's taken it, killed a chicken and all. No, 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 no. I take offerings of tobacco, sage, and I just simply have a simple prayer. When I am here, I want to bring peace and honor to this area, to the spirits, and to all the ethereals, to any of the fairy folk, in that way, that I bring peace and harmony. And you can come and go. I'm not here to threaten you. So, and I do so with not some kind of really loud banging and no, I mean simple, small little fire with just a nice little drum to do, and a song to go with it, and a little bit of flute music, and what I feel is appropriate. And then I take pictures of the orbs and of the spirits, and what in several places absolutely looks like a fairy, and several other people have forwarded them the picture. I don't mess with the pictures. I might zoom in. I ain't touching a picture. It is what it is, and the metadata on any of the pictures that I have you, if you downloaded, especially if you had a Canon camera, it would show you all my camera settings that I used when I take these pictures, what my flash setting was, so forth, shutter speed, and I tinker with it. And sometimes the orbs show up better in certain places with certain, whether it's a retarded flash or anyway. But don't want to get into photography. But in many instances, I've just stood there and felt like I don't see them physically, but I can perceive them all around me through my third eye. And I'm bringing this up because all of this has to do with truth. Okay. But I'm telling you this because I would stand in these places and ask the spirits, is it all right if I take your picture? Can I do this? They already know what my intent is, because my intent is, if they will, if I come with the correct respect and honor, I'm taking a picture of them in a spirit world. And then they know I'm going to bring this back and I'm going to share it. They know this. And over the 20 years of taking pictures in the same place, my camera the batteries would die within a minute. I had extra batteries that I had fully charged and brand new. Went to go put them in the camera. All the batteries died. I mean, a handful of batteries. I could have normally I could have used my camera 3 separate times for hours. Not necessarily video, but pictures with flash. My little Canon camera, which is right around here somewhere, I've taken, and you can look at the pictures that I've taken and follow along with the timestamp. And you see that I'll take a picture, the flash will recover. I'll turn the camera slightly, flash, it recovers. So you can see them in order of when I took them and what time of night I took them, and sort of in a sequence. Now, some of the pictures I have slightly out of sequence when I show them on the video. But my point to that is that I want everyone to see the data. And sometimes they'll tell me to use, I'll just hear in my ear that they'll say, use the other flash. Well, okay. And when I was in Ohio, I guess about 4 years ago now, at the petroglyphs there, all of the spheres they were beautiful. They were blue, different shades of blue. You can see there's like a dark blue here and a lighter blue there. These spheres, and unbelievable. And the spirits, it was one of the first times, other than my own spirit guide, that an entity tried to speak to me, and did, and instructed me on how to take the pictures I took of the orbs in Ohio. So, and I've stated this before. So why am I telling you this? Why is this the premise to working into the truth? Because when I listen to my own spirit guides, when I just allow myself to think maybe this is possible, just maybe, the universal maybe, is this possible? Is this true? Do I really hear a really gentle voice in my head saying, we're over here, set the flash to here, and take our picture? We're over here. And when I took the picture, there was more of them where they told me to turn than there was over here. And it's like, how can I argue with that? And so, but when you follow your instincts and the spirits in whatever way they do, in mine, because my path this time through has been to follow Native American traditions and to learn it because of the crimes that I committed in a previous life, because I didn't understand what it meant to be to be a Native American. I hate the word Indian, but real Americans, in my opinion, original Aboriginal folk, just like the Aboriginals in Australia. In I've not met any, but I have, excuse me, I have met people from Australia, but that's neither here nor there, I guess, other than to ask them about things and what is it really like, and you know what is your impression versus here in America, South Georgia, blah blah blah. Anyway, hello Cherry, how I see you pop up here. um, Meditation, I just can't do it. Sit still, clear mind, close eyes. I'm either fiddling and moving or fall asleep. Let me throw this to you, sweet pea. I have um, I've had the same issue over the many years, and sometimes here's the issue, and I brought it up before, but not. I'm not. I hate. I use that term. Well, I brought this up before, but I have. Um, Not to toot my own horn. It's just I'm when I think about this, it's like, yes, I have discussed this, but it needs further explanation. And there are new folks who come to this channel, and I need to go back over some of these things because it is important for everyone to kind of understand. So in the meditation realm, one of the things I find, because my mind is so active and so many things going on, and due to all the baseball bats and bricks in the head as a kid, um, but that you have to just find a third place. Instead of trying to calm it, the best way to calm it is to let the movie of all these things go by. Now, the trick that, and I've discussed this with many people over my many years, but have learned that, and I mean, I was in therapy for 25 years. I've talked to some really good folk in the because of my mental conditions and all the headbangs. But so, and it's from them I started learning my own techniques to deal with my own narcolepsy and on my own physical issues. But so, and I realized that I'm in much better shape 2 years after getting off all the pharmaceuticals than I was 2 years ago. I can go further in the kayak, I can paddle, I can last longer, and it I should be sicker in 2 years later. I mean, not stronger, but um, what you do is I consider all my thoughts and things as like movies. Sometimes, when I was working as an engineer, there was a machine issue and I had to work out tooling. So I would literally have a little drawing in front of me, and I would like, well, put it like this, and I worked at this thing in 3D right here. And I'm like, okay, that's going to work. I'll remember that when I get to work or when I get home, and I'll draw that up and we'll try that tomorrow, which is what a lot of things that I did. But I realized there were so many things going by that I just had to let the movie run by itself. And I learned that the trick was, if something stayed in the movie going by, sometimes it was just a thought or two things or something, and it didn't really last that long. I go, oh, that's interesting. But when something stayed in my field of vision for very long, it required just a little bit more thought. Like, oh, okay, check. But I never stayed on it. I just moved it along. And I'm just thinking, figure left or right or whatever. files were coming into view, and I'm like, okay, next, this one, next. So the my guardian angel, my spirit guide, suggested, in my trying to learn how to meditate always quietly with all this noise going on, that I just sit back and watch the chaos. And then I've learned, and I've done videos on this, on how you focus on the harmonics of the chaos. I know it sounds really weird. And it's like you don't become immersed in it. It's like different parts of the choir. If and I've discussed this before, if you're standing beside a soprano and you're an alto, sometimes the notes get a little mixed, and when you're standing there, it sounds crappy. But out in the church or the auditorium, it sounds grand because of the harmonics that it achieves, the end result. Like some jazz and things, if you stand right on stage, as I have as a musician, sometimes it doesn't sound like it's really jiving, but the folks out there, when you go out in the audience and listen, and you go, wow, that's pretty, that sounds tight, right? Okay. So rather than worry so much about being exactly calm, at least be comfortable with being relaxed. And I was like, whoa, now that's okay. So in other words, I was like trying too hard. So once I scanned through all the crap, if I tried to stop the stream of information going by, I just kept fumbling and I couldn't get my mind clear. But after I let all of the stuff go by, made a mental note of that, keep going, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, then I got more relaxed and could meditate and didn't necessarily fall asleep. So if you try to stop what's naturally supposed to go on and our busy lives and so forth, I've found one of the best and simple, and it really works. If you gotta practice it, and you got to be honest with yourself. Well, I don't know. Did I allow my meditation to sneak into focus on one thing that happened during the day? Because here's the thing: in order to meditate, you can't be dragging stuff from your past, whether it be later on, earlier today, or 10 or 20 or 50 years ago, or 55 years ago in my case. You have to learn how to not drag that forward. And so sometimes, with the meditation, there's all this jumble of stuff. And the best thing to do is allow it to run. But picture yourself sitting in it. Now, being that I worked in theater for so many years and so forth, I picture myself in a theater, and because I worked in the one locally here for so many years, 25 years, I worked with the theater group. And so I can sit in the audience without anything on stage, and I can put myself and say, okay, let my movie run. Let all the crap go by. I'm going to sit in my theater. I got my popcorn. Nobody's bothering me. And this is so that I can relax and meditate. But trying to stop it is, and you probably you probably already know it really does. It makes you tired and you fall asleep, or you get aggravated and go, I can't stop this crap. Don't. But put it in a different frame of mind, and just sit back and watch it run like a movie. Takes a little practice. Well, it takes a lot of practice. But some people are faster learners. But now, what has that got to do with truth? Because in truth, as I have practiced these things from the mid 60s straight on, I'm still learning. It's my cumulative amount of wisdom, if you will, lessons from the universe. And as a shaman, let's see, as a Native American spirit, Native Americans are born understanding that there's more to life than white people ever know. I mean, even if they're not born on a reservation, there is something internally. They're taken to the land. They're There is herbal teas. There is grandmother coming in telling stories. There's stuff, and it's traditional. It's old. I'm so glad it's still around. But in these old traditions, you see that I've seen that those folk who have that core value that I always speak about, which is that core internal spirit that's you and me, our essence, our soul. And there's some discussion as to whether our soul and our essence is the same. That's a real, that's another. I've discussed it before, but I think that's for another discussion. But just as a But anyway, so what does this have to do with truth and faith? Well, once you have learned cumulative up to this point, you yourself and what you're learning, what you're sharing, what your experience is. There are people who refuse to believe that there are ghosts. Okay. I'm going to read your stuff in a minute. I want to get past this thing here. It's in my head. It's a little block. But there are people who just absolutely don't believe there are ghosts. So it's like, I'm not here to try to convince you, but I am trying to say that these are my experiences. This is what I do believe. And when you're in a burning building and someone you never known is shaking your foot and saying, get out, there's a fire, dressed in a farmer suit, and you check later on after the house burns down, come to find out, I described the man who died in the house, who built the house with his two brothers back in 1904 and 1906. That was the guy that I used to sit on the front porch with. That's the ghost that no one would live in the house because of. I felt him, saw him, shared it, and he manifested himself and woke me up so we could get out of the house. Okay, that's my story. It truly happened. Because the guy it would have been his great grandson was running the farm. And when I described, I said, who's this guy in the bib overalls, etc. And he goes, and he literally turned white, and he'd been out in the sun all day. And he said, come down to the house. Well, my house was burnt down. So I went down to his and spent the night there because I was so shaken up. And he got out the family albums and he started flipping through. And I went, wait, who's that? And he goes, well, that's my great grandfather. Him and his brother built the house up there on the hill. And why? And I said, that's the guy that woke me up. And he said, well, people say that's the guy who haunts the house. That's why that's why it's only $55 a month. It pays the taxes. And I was like, and you never told me after the 6 years I've lived here? No, you just kind of nobody else but lived there, but he liked you. So I've literally lived with ghosts in houses who saved my life. Now, the interesting thing is, after that incident, I moved over to this location where I am currently now, and I've been here going on 40 years. I found this place just by hook and by crook. I mean, it's the wrong end of the county from where I've been living for many years over there. So now all of a sudden I'm being drawn to this end of the county, different things in work and all kinds of things. And I end up here, reincarnation. And I found out that, yes, I've been here. There are certain things I know about this area that I knew in my heart existed, but I couldn't prove it. And then Google Earth came along and I was like, oh, crap. I was right. There is something down there on the river. I was right. There is something up the river from here. Anyway, so that to me is the truth. My seeing these things, my experiences, my walks in woods and seeing fairies up in North Georgia mountains could not explain these things lighting up. And it's like, oh my God. Couldn't take a picture, didn't have a camera, but me and two other people witnessed it. And it was nothing we've ever seen. And I've only witnessed it up in the mountains. And it only happens during certain times of the year. They fly, they float, they interact. It's not a mayfly. They're iridescent, sort of glow in the dark kind of thing. on the blue side tint, and can't explain it, but it they reacted very quickly to any kind of anger or like negative emotion or anything. Like, I wonder what that is, and lunged forward, they just scattered. But if you just stood still and said, I wonder what you are, and just held your finger out, it would kind of fly and float over to you. Now, I've had many experiences like that in the North Georgia mountains. I've had the experience down on the Ochlockonee River, right, right on or near the Georgia-Florida border, and it was at like 4 in the morning. And there's this layer of mist, and I'm sitting in my kayak, and the layer of mist was just over my head because the river was warm and the outside air was cold. So there was this fog on the river, and I couldn't see for a squat. And I've got all kinds of little headlamps and things. I've been down the swamp at night a lot. I'd never been down this section of the river, and I'd bumped into quite a few things along the way going down. But coming back, I could barely see the end of my kayak, which is just beyond my feet. It's a 10-foot kayak, and I'm sitting there. So I hear this little laughter, and there's these little swirls going on in the fog, and they're dancing and interacting and going this way. And I hear this really high pitch, hee, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, middle of the night, it's 4 in the morning, and okay, I smoked a bowl while I was sitting there watching the moon set, but I'm like, what's going on? And I hear this little buzzing, and these little things kind of come by me. And I've got one of these little lamps, and I had it really close to it was more inside the kayak than it was shining on the outside. But because of the mist, it illuminated a small area around me. And I heard this, follow us, and we'll show you the way home. And I was several miles down from where I parked, and not in a hurry. I wasn't really tired. I was having a ball, but I couldn't see anything. I mean, it was like, when we got back to where the truck was parked, they said, we're here, and they disappeared. And I went, what? And looked around, and sure enough, there was my truck. And I went, whoa, that was interesting. But they sang and they danced, and they wanted me to sing a little. They told me they liked these little sing songs. So I was like, I don't know. I would da 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 da, and they'd go giggle, 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 and three or four of them they'd twist and turn and go across and come back. And if I got out of the way, they'd say, follow us. And two or three of these little swirly things would go to my right. And I'd just lean to the right, and a big old ass log would go right by me, and I'd go, and I'd hear this tee hee hee tee hee hee. I can't reach that high with my voice, but just think little kids really high and chipper and having a ball. And now, do I have pictures of them? No, but I made it from the Florida line at Georgia up the river back to my truck, and I didn't run into anything. And I mean, some of those places are just wide enough for a kayak to go by. And I mean, when I said, a log went by, I mean, this puppy was this big around, and literally it was like and I was like, whoa, what was that? And they laughed, and that, the river would open up again, and they'd swirl over here and around. And so do I believe in things in other realms? You betcha. They have played with me, and when you believe it, because I could have sat there and gone, that's nonsense. And I'm just okay. I'm going to blame it on taking a couple of hits off my little bowl. Okay, I took 2 hits off my bowl. I'm stoned, and now I'm hearing fairies in my head. Don't think so. I mean, so you have to say, well, something's going on. So if I had just said, no, this can't be happening, then I would have missed the entire experience. But by going along with what my guardian spirit was telling me, my spirit guide, these are entities. Talk to them, sing with them. Well, there's nobody around. I'm kind of crazy anyway. If there'd have been somebody around, I probably would have sang. But the idea is, though, I interacted with these beings, and they showed me back home to the truck. Didn't ask them. They just, because they were having fun, and it just worked out that way. So, do I believe in other entities? Do I believe in fairy beings? Do I believe now there are some mean and nasty things that are in that realm, but not all of them are nasty. Now, here's another thing. They pick up on whether or not your energy is good. Now, quite frankly, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, I'm usually a fairly calm person, but I was still working on some very old issues. I was having grand mal seizures, drooling out the corners of my mouth. I'm really trying to get me back after all the pain and suffering I'd went through, and all the medicines and all the testing and all the, haven't been to a doctor in 2 years, doing better than I ever have. But at that time, it was confusing me and who I really was, my energy, my everything. So, and that was sort of at the beginning. Actually, that was the beginning of me saying, wait a minute, the people who've been calling me crazy all of these years, these beings just proved to me that this is real. And I had just come from Ohio, that it was around that same year, and of listening to the sphere beings and taking the pictures of all those orbs and stuff up there at the petroglyphs, and then and then thinking, so it's been a progression for me. But as long as I pay attention, as long as I allow myself to, here's the word, have faith in my spirit guide. So with this accumulated information in my life, and I don't think I put them up. Sorry about that. That was an impromptu, had to get up. I'm going to tell you a story here that really, it really relates, but I want to catch up what you guys are doing in the chat. I promised I was. Okay, so yes, Sweet Pea, I see you said exactly. I can't stop and it goes so fast. Um, Thank you, Sweet Pea. And see that my job here is to just, do I know it all? No, but I've been through a bunch of crap. And the best I can do is share maybe some technique that you've never heard about. Maybe there's something in there. And that's my job. That's why I'm here, um, because all of us, you folks, me, we are seeking the truth. We're seeking who we were, how we are, and what we're gonna do, where we're gonna go next, kind of thing. What's in store for us. You know. But to the point, though, you're very welcome. Yeah, old things, dude. Um, Old things. I was dragging so much stuff that it was just absolutely unbelievable, Terry. I need a lot to keep myself centered and mindful of what I want to accomplish and what is constantly going on in life or the world around me. Then on top of this, the garbage can bumps, or this evening a stepladder tip. Yeah, that's some. I went through a clumsy stage, and I can't explain it, but I think that it was part of what I had not settled with in myself that kind of invited odd chaos to happen in my life. Not to say that I was cursed or whatever, but somehow I just wasn't quite as aware. I was off over here somewhere, I'm. This is only for my own point, Miss Terry, but I realized that somehow I wasn't causing it, but I wasn't paying enough attention, so it didn't happen. I don't know. I can't explain it, but I went through a very clumsy stage, and to the point where I was afraid to do anything. I mean, I've discussed my fear that I've overcome about going and getting on the river and whatever. Screw it. I told my friend who was here the other day, I said, you're the first person that's visited me here, other than my one friend who checks on me once a month. I said, you're the first visitor I've had in 6 months. And I said, I could fall over right here on the floor and die. And do you think anybody would know it? No. I got better chances with my truck parked at the river and not coming back for 3 or 4 days of somebody saying, "Hey, is this guy okay? Whose truck is this?" But if I'm here at the house, I could be dead for weeks and nobody would even know that I was dead. Now, my point to that is that that was my own fear. And society instilled it upon me. And I had to realize, oh, stop this. Oh, stop this. It was keeping me from not from being me, but the fear of, well, I don't know, and I'm kind of clumsy. And I was accepting this clumsiness. And as I got off my meds, I realized, I'm sorry. I refuse to look at that clumsiness. I used to walk with a cane everywhere. I used the cane today and realized halfway to the chicken pen that I was like, I didn't really need it, but I took it. So I used to walk with a cane because one leg shorter than the other, my football injury, and my bad back. And I'm in better. I don't need a cane now, and I should. I mean, 2 years later. So, but my put my cane up. I always use a walking stick. But what does that have to do with truth and faith? The truth is, I've been learning these things for years. And the truth is, I had to have faith in my spirit guide, guardian angel, higher self, however you would like to term it. I have faith because of the truth that has happened between me and them, whoever them is now. And I quite frankly, I don't care if they could be angels, and they know what I'm mean. They, if they're angels or if they're spirit guides, that's not the point. Whoever's, and maybe it's me, and this is an avatar. I have considered that. I'm in this avatar now, and there are times when it feels like I really am somewhere else. I mean, I've seen inside the spaceships. I've got information. There was something about a plasma drive, something that I woke up and they said, um, the problem with that spaceship you were on last night was the plasma thing was out of balance and you needed to recalibrate it. It wasn't spinning, concentrically, and I was like, what? What the hell? I mean, I'm into sci-fi and stuff, always have been, but where would I get the idea that the spaceship I was just, now I'm awake now, but I get this message. The answer to your question is where you just came from, is that, the warp drive needs balanced. And I was like, oh crap. All right. When I get back, I'll fix it. And then I realized as I'm drinking my coffee, I'm sitting here in this reality and I'm talking about something that I don't know if sometimes I don't know if that's real or if this is real. There are times when seems like there are timelines that they're interacting at the same time. Now I can't prove any of what's going on up there, but I got to say that any information I get from this side, devils on this side, angels on this side, just like in the cartoons. It was different in some of the cartoons. But the idea is, for me, the information that I hear over here has never, ever led me astray. It's always to pull me back from the brink of doing stupid shit. Or, hey, you need to talk about this. There's somebody out there that needs a puzzle piece. I don't know who the person is, but they say, you need to talk about this because it's important. There's someone who needs help in this area. Okie dokie. So if I try to figure out who it was or the topic or whatever it is, then I could miss the boat. The idea is I speak with my heart, with their guidance on the topic, share it with you the best I can. And if it resonates or something happens, good shape. So the truth is, because of my life, I understand these things. I've learned things about the red road and everything goes back to a long way back. Dante said that. He said, when the Charistus come to the planet, I think this is what he said. And if I'm wrong with you, I think he said 17,000 years ago, he said everybody was wearing hats. We all had shirts and pants and shoes. And it's true. I mean, even caveman, regardless of how you want to look at them, were they actually brutes? I don't know. They may have been just, during the wintertime down here, I get acclimated, and sometimes it's 55 degrees, and I'm running around in basically a t-shirt, and I'm comfortable. So, and I can tell you that before, when I moved up here from Florida, I'd have had this house at 70 degrees, and that's hard to do with my wood stove. I'd have went through, 3 cords of firewood in 3 weeks, and it's like, hang on here. Now I barely use the fireplace or my wood stove because I allow myself to get accustomed to the cold. Now my house stays warm because it's a solar house, passive solar. So I planned for this when I built my house. So people say, well, how do you get along? I looked ahead and said, I need something in my old age I'm not going to have to take care of. Unless a window breaks, they're there. When the sun comes down in the winter time and it shines in here in the house and warms the house, it's free. Period. It's free. No moving parts, no nothing. So I planned on this 40 years ago. Here I am now. That's the truth. Do these things work? Yes, that's the truth. Can you look forward ahead with your dreams and whatever and achieve them? My house is a very simple house. My friend came in the other day and said, Dave, your house, I remember it's so open. And I was like, yeah. People now, they're talking about all this feng shui and how they want to have open houses. I built my house originally 30 years ago out of old tobacco barn wood, which there's still a fair amount of tobacco barn wood still in this house. But, and from trees on my property here and some old telephone poles. And, my neighbor's barn's been torn down twice by tornadoes. Once this last year when that big hurricane went through, and I didn't sustain any damage at all. I got a leaky spot up here today. It rained 3 inches in like 2 hours. And it was leaking on my computer here and I had to move it out. But, after all these years, and it's been a pain in the ass to try to fix over the last 15 years or 20 years or whatever. So it's like, now I'm getting older. But the thing is that I'm getting ready to get up there. I'm tired of that thing. We're going to fix that leak, finally one. It's been too long. Anyway, but the idea, though, that with faith, okay, so I had to have faith in my own abilities to understand, can these things be true? Well, I've had these different things happen in life. I've met other people. I've seen other things. At one time, I was trying to figure out whether demons existed, got a hold of some really old information, proceeded to do a spell and to conjure up a demon, just to ask him what it was like in hell, I guess. And I got to a certain point and realized, oh shit, this could actually work. Oh shit. But could I have actually brought an entity partial of the way into this reality? When I look back on it, I go, not good. Not good. Now, my intent was, I just wanted to know if I could do it. How many people out there nowadays are trying something just to see if they can? And what happens when they do? Thank goodness my spirit guides way back when in the in the 70s. It had been about 75, 6, 7, somewhere in there, 1970s, that I quote dabbled. But since then I realized there's a lot of quote natural magic. It's earth magic. It's just universal magic. And I always spell it with an MAJIK. My spelling, it has nothing to do with anybody else's, but it has everything to do with the natural order of the universe. As we learn to move into the fourth dimension, I'm going to be able to figure out how to disassemble myself and walk through that wall because I will have learned the technique, the walking on the water and the things. There's been so many times that when I was down on the river and in the mud and things like that, I could have gotten stuck. And I thought light thoughts and literally kind of skipped across the mud. And I've talked about this before, but other people get stuck, past their ankle, and I was in this deep. And then, how did you do that? And I'm sorry, but when I go across these places, I just spread my energy out with my feet. It's not just my foot I'm touching. I don't know how I do it. I just project it out in my feet, and I end up walking. Not, I don't sink into mud near as deep as anybody else. How does that happen? Well, Jesus walked on water, and is this really like a big deal? And I'm not saying I'm Jesus. My point to it is a natural ability. When Native Americans learn how to walk softly through the woods, you wouldn't find their footprint. You just wouldn't find their footprint. Anybody else who walked through there, oh yeah, you could track them. But someone who really in a pair of moccasins, you're not going to find them because they're so silent. They're so. Now, with that said, though, how does this relate to Dante, or does it? And my point to some of this is yes, it does, because there are certain things that I understand about the wilderness and the river and things, like not to freak out when giant fish jump in your kayak at 12 o'clock at night, or 12:01 in the morning. Or how to deal with certain things or entities or situations, like I discussed that time when we came home, and on the way home there was a guy that was in a fire. I had to hold this man's leg as it was chopped off. If we hadn't been there, no telling what would have happened. And I'm not trying to be a hero. I'm just saying the creator, God, the angels, whatever, put you in places that you just have no idea. But when I listen to my spirit guide, I get amazing things. Now, I want to tell you this story, and then I'm going to look in the chat. But I want to do this real quick as much as I can. It's been about 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even 4 now. It seems like about 3. I was sitting upstairs in my office, and it was about fall kind of thing, and I was sitting there working on the computer and looking out the window out to the swamp in the woods and how nice it was, and thinking, wow, I really ought to go out there. And I get this tap on the shoulder that says, Hawkeye, if you'll turn off your computer and go for a walk down to the river, we got something for you. Now, it was from my spirit guide, literally. This is, can you follow instructions? This is a test. Number 1, do you believe? Do you have faith in what you're hearing? Do you have the faith? Do you have trust, which is part of truth and faith, if you will? I think they're intermingled. Because if you don't know the truth, how can you have faith? And without faith, does the truth really matter? I mean, well, okay, so that's the truth. But does truth give you faith? No, but it helps to explain it. So I say, well, okay, this is one of them times. All right, I'll play your game. I want to kind of go to the woods anyway, and you're giving me a good excuse. So shut off the computer, down the stairs, grab my walking stick, and out to the woods I go. Now it's a good 1/8 of the mile down through the woods, down to the river. And my property is about 700 feet wide, almost straight back all the way to the river. But when it gets to the river, one portion of the river, one property line is shorter by 500 feet. So my downstream property line goes way down and the cut of the river. So I've got a lot more distance. It's the hypotenuse of a triangle, if you will. So I got a lot more river frontage than I do straight across. Anyway, I have a camp that's more on the downstream side. They led me like going through here, and I'm like, okay, is it over here? And every time I try to project, because they've sent me on these little uh, um, uh, gift hunts, if you will. I can't think of the word. Anyway, somebody gives you a list of stuff to go out and look for, sort of a scavenger hunt. It's kind of sort of like that. So I'm like, well, is it over here? You're getting warm, you're getting cold, and so you learn spiritually to like kind of follow like with a Geiger counter. So I learned that it's an internal thing. So it's like, okay, so no, it's not over there. You go, okie dokie, and you walk up here. So I'm walking through some really dense brush. In a lot of places, I've got some really nice trails that you can go through. Now I'm going to the north end of the property, which I don't go there very often, just no particular reason, but I just don't. There's some really thick bramble bushes and some really thick palmetto bushes, and it's really not real easy to go through. And the bank's real steep. And anyway, so they led me all the way up there to the north end of the property line. So I'm walking through literally palmetto bushes this tall and, getting scraped and cut. I'm going around these literally, 30, 40 feet big around bramble patches. And I'm being quiet, and they're telling me, go right over here. And I'm like, if I go through there, man, it's like really thick. We want you right over there. So really quiet. And as I get over there to the edge of the bank, it's about 15 feet down. The river's low. So that's about 15 foot from that spot. And across the river, I see a deer. And I'm like, whoa, you guys led me here. Well, that's groovy. Well, the next thing, I mean, like within 10 seconds, out of the corner of my eye, I see this very large barred owl that's plentiful back there come flying in and over the top of this deer, and it scares the deer away. And the owl goes up in a tree, and I was like, whoa, double whammy, owl and a deer. And I've never seen, he didn't really buzz the deer, but it scared the deer, and the deer went behind. And I was like, well, that was interesting. So I'm like, well, thank you. That was really cool. And I go, no, we're not done with you. And I was like, okay, what next? Turn around and look down. And okay, now down there on the Oclockney River, if the river comes up and it floods, there's a lot of sand mixed in. So in some spots, if it floods for several days and there's a lot of turmoil and turbidity in the water, there might be this much leaves and sand and stuff in a place that didn't have it before. So where you walked before and where there was a trail, there might be a great big pile of sand and leaves there now because it banks up, and how the water flows, it's always changing. And where there used to be a bank may not be there anymore. It fluctuates. So anyway, I'm over there and I'm looking down and I'm going, what do you want me to look at? It's down there, but you got to look. It's down there on the edge between these two palmetto bushes. Okay, fine. What am I going to find? Well, keep looking. What am I looking for? Keep looking. And I saw, after I looked, do you see these? I saw these things sticking up out of the sand. And there's all kinds of sticks and stuff and leaves sticking up out of the sand. So I start digging away and I start revealing what's there. This deer antler. Now I'm creeping out. I'm in a good way. I'm like, Lord have mercy. I'd been standing on this thing almost. It was just like maybe 18 inches from my foot. So basically I'm standing on it, and it's buried into the sand all the way up to here. So all you can see are the spikes, and they just look like sticks. I've wiped it off a little bit, but you can still see that there's a natural brown. So sticking out of the sand, it was just like little sticks. And I was like, oh my God. So, wow, this is cool. So I look around thinking maybe the other one's there. And they were like, nope, go back. And I'm like trying to look around, and I just, come on, let's go. We're done here. But, I just found this one. The other one's got to be around here somewhere. Come on, let's go. Okay. And I mean, I kind of argue that way out loud, like, but it's in it here. Nope. Come on. All righty. Let's go. So down I go. Now back then we'd had a rather recent flood. So there are sections where if there's a lot of leaves, they come up and they get sandwiched between two high spots, some trees, brambles, whatever. And it drops the leaves, and some of the leaves are really thick. and there's sand sprinkled on top, and you walk on it, and it's really spongy, and there are places where it's literally 6 feet deep, where over the many years, the leaves and the things, and that it's almost boggy at times. But anyway, so I'm walking along, and I was wanting to go along the trail, and they were like, no, go this way. And but it's over the mushy stuff. I'll walk over it, but it was like, you want me to go through there? Yes. Now I'm like, well, okie doke. But every time I tried to swing to my right, they pulled me to the left, away from the river. And I'm thinking, okay, because I'm still looking for the other side of this thing, right? No, don't go that way. Go over here. Down the ways I go, and I'm like, do, look down, and I'm looking. I'm going, it's a bunch of brown leaves, really thick, kind of kicking things up, and with this white, white beach sand mixed in with this. And so I'm looking around and kicking the dirt and stuff like that. And I get to a certain point, and it's like somebody grabbed me by the back of the shirt and just stopped me and said, you went too far. And I was like, went too far for what? Turn around. Okie dokie. Turn around and look down. All right. So I turn around, look down, and I'm going, it's all a bunch of brown leaves. It's all a bunch of this. Open your eyes and see what's not. Look, it's always look for what shouldn't be there. If I'm looking in the woods for a deer, you expect trees and look for when you're looking for natural things, you look for what doesn't fit, meaning a bear, or an animal, or a coyote, or a fox. If you look, or a beaver or something, you look for something that's, that isn't there. You expect the trees, but do you expect an animal? So you look for what isn't supposed to be there. I know that sounds convoluted. So anyway, I'm okie dokie. I'm looking down, and this is what I see sticking out of the leaves. And I went, oh my goodness. Now I'm a good 250, 300 feet downriver from where I found this one. Okay. This grandiose thing. I uncover the other side. So now I'm sitting there holding this set of antlers. Had I not gotten up from my computer desk and followed my spirit guide, I would have missed out on this present. And now people say, well, what good does this do? Because you have to have faith. I couldn't have found these if I didn't have faith. I have to have faith. I have to have faith that these guys ain't just toying with me. And when I really pay attention, they really do show me these wondrous things and give me these wonderful gifts. I mean, that deer is an old deer. Well, you can tell by the bumps here, and the fact that I've got different sets of deer antler and pieces and stuff. And as a puppeteer, I work with things. I also carve wood and stuff. And so to get a set of antlers like this, there are some people who would pay dearly to have this part right here for a handle for a knife or something like that. And so, but the fact is, so why am I telling these stories? Because Dante can show you stuff over there. I'm showing you stuff from my world, from my shaman world, from a medicine man, from just being a naturalist and paying attention to what's around you. Because I'm here to tell you, my friends, all I could see sticking up were these 3 little spikes in the sand. And it was under a palmetto bush, a big one. And you just don't crawl around underneath palmetto bushes, but I'm old and crazy. And the second one was down there in those leaves. And you can see the mark that was sticking up right in there. There was a leaf mark right there, and they were just sticking up like that. And I don't know how. I probably walked through there and didn't see them. This time I listened. I listened to what I considered the truth. Okay, this does tie in because I've had these interactions with my spirit guides before, So this is proof to me that they give me so I can tell you a true story about how these came to be. And these came out on my river in the backyard. So do I believe? Oh, and this is just another one of the stories that I have. So I don't want to bore you with any more of the stories. But my point is that this is the truth. This is proof of the truth of the story I just told you, especially to me, because I'm sitting here and I'm kind of quivering thinking, I remember that day and walking back from the river. My hands are shaking because I'm like, I'm holding these things and I'm going, I can't believe you guys. I can't believe you. I can't believe this. Usually it's a feather, or I thought I was just happy to see the deer and the owl and was surprised to see the deer react, etc. But then to find these because I followed instructions from a higher spirit or whatever. Now, does that help you to believe? I don't know. But the thing is this is proof to me. Everybody's going to get their own proof. Everyone, if it might be tailor made for you in some other way. It might be a part for an old bicycle or a motorcycle. It could be anything. It could be some type of synchronicity that allows you to see that, oh my God, there's something more here. When I have truth in what I want, which is just to believe, when I have the faith to follow what I've already learned, between the truth and the faith, then you get these gifts from where? Out they're out there. They're always there. So you have to find out your own potential. But by dragging stuff forward with you and having your frequency off, a lot of people will go, well, that's just um, that's just nonsense playing in my head. Devil and the angel, yep. So Sweet Pea says, I'm a firm believer that when wisdom speaks, one should listen. And so I absolutely agree. And it's like, well, I knew that I want to be tested. Okay. I want spirit to say, you know what? If you'll get up, we got something for you. Okay. And then when you go and you find it and it's so like, wow, to do, I got 18 and a half acres here and a lot of it's down there on the swamp. You don't just happenstance go up to some of this stuff. You got to go through some dense ass brush to get there. It's not like, ooh, look, just a walk in the park. This is swamp South Georgia style with great big thises and stuff in the way and big, humongous bramble patches. You ain't walking through. And so you got to skirt them, go around them, to go through, anyway. So for me to find what I did in the places that I did, this wasn't just some kind of little summer walk, I had to get there. And even though I knew my property, I had to follow, is this hot or am I cold? So with anything that you do, anything that you do, the old Chinese proverb, and I said this before, but it really stands to be true. If you're looking for an answer for something and whether or not it's true or whatever, swallow the information and go to bed and sleep on it. In other words, follow your gut. But if you wake up in the morning with indigestion, then probably whatever you asked or whatever you did is not right. So there are many things that, as a shaman in training, I've learned over the years is that I've got a good relationship with my spirit guide. I have built this trusted communication, the antlers, and I mean there's just too many stories for me to go through right now. And I'll try to share a few along the way because it's important. Like Dante can show certain things about this, and this. The stories that I tell, I kind of sort of have little mementos, if you will, of this actually happening. So I can say, I got this when I did blah, 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 blah. Or I took this picture when blah, 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 blah. So that you can, I can prove to you that I'm being honest and that I'm telling you the truth. It's important that whether or not you believe me, I am telling the truth because of what I know. Okay. What does that have to do with the price of beans in China? People who shut themselves off to other realms, other possibilities, then are going to have a hard time understanding the truth. UFOs, aliens, what kind? You know, I started on Dante's channel back when when his channel um, when he talked about the Russian alien book way back. I heard him on the radio way back. So I've been, whatever my connection with Dante is, has gone way back. And so, do I support him? I don't know him. But from what I understand the parameters of what he's going through because of how I relate to the things that have happened in my life. When one could say I was listening to the angels that night and we were there to save that man's life and to keep him from getting blowed up and bleeding to death on the side of the road. And it was totally, they asked me hours before to go to town and come back at that time. I've told that story. I'm not going to go through it. But the bottom line is, if I had not listened to those angel messages, as I call them, that man, who knows what have happened to that man. So we do when we're called. That's part of the reason why I believe in the cause, and the cause to help other people, to help bring harmony and to bring justice and so forth to all beings. I mean, I don't care where you're from, but if you can ask, if we can respect each other's space and not want to zap each other or whatever, I'm good with it. It's all about honor and respect. But if we don't know what the truth is about our past, how can we understand where we may go in the future? Now, I've seen many things in my lifetime with spaceships getting blown up over the top of my house, kind of thing. I mean, getting zapped out of existence. I've seen things blow up over the sky that people try to convince me that was a meteor. Nah. The one that blew up a few months ago that I was out, Spirit told me, get up, go outside, and boom, there was this thing that exploded, and lit up the sky. Oh my God. And so it's like, these are things that prove to me something's going on up there. Plus there's all the satellite pictures of Lasco and C23 and all these, and you can see spaceships and clusters moving around the sun and within our solar system. So it's like, well, I don't know if I believe what Dante says about alien spaceships. There's enough visual evidence, regardless of whether or not Dante says anything about aliens or spaceships. You can visually see these things on the instruments that are available for you and me to see and watch at any time we want to. And they're there. Oh yeah, but there are people say, oh, that was a comet. Do you know how big that was? Well, no, it was a comet. Was it really? Well, that was a meteor. Do you know how big that meteor is? That meteor's the size of Mars. It just went, but nobody said, well, yeah, it's a comet. Well, comets don't go that fast. Well, and they don't usually travel in groups of 4 and 6, and they don't usually chase other things. I mean, well, and what's that great big ball coming out of the side of the sun? Oh, well, that's just an anomaly, a really damn big anomaly. And for a long time, it's been said, for those of us who, I don't know, maybe understand it in a deeper realm, that the sun is a portal. The things are coming and going in there all the time. That's why sometimes we have these big solar flares. Somebody comes out that ain't supposed to, and it shoots these big flares. Because when it's controlled, and when the good guys have control of the portal, think Stargate, if you will, somebody hacked the code and comes popping out of the side of the sun, sends us a massive wave because they didn't have permission. They didn't have the codes. There are people go in and out of the through portals all the time and go, "Oh, that's impossible." No, just go through and watch over the many months and years of the videos of the sun with these different types of satellites. You don't have to have somebody convince you. Open your eyes. It's just right there. Duh. I'm sorry, that was a little snarky there, and I take that back. But I mean, if I don't have to make it up. Just go look. So, but there has to go to do with truth, faith. Do you is that the truth? And to many people, for me, I go, look, there goes another starship, a Star Trek ship. You can see the pattern as it's going by, on the Lasco and Cora and some of those others, of the satellite images of the sun. And so it's like, wait a minute now. I don't have to read somebody's blog or go to somebody else's channel. I just go out to the NASA pictures of what they're showing, what they're looking at, and obviously showing to other people. And I'm using my own discernment. That ain't what they're trying to claim it is. Sorry, gang. Um, the idea. Oh, and guess what? A couple of weeks ago, there was this. Boy, there's something active around here. If any of you see an orb or something go by, there's some not creepy activity, but strange activity going on around here. Because I'm talking about these kinds of things, interdimensional beings and so forth. But as we progress forward, if and I'm referring to Dante and about the video about truth because I'm not trying to explain him, but I feel like I need to say I've had similar things like him, not exactly, but similar. So can what he's be saying be true? In my book, yes. Now, does that make everything true? I leave that open because I don't have enough information. It's like I got antlers, but I can't really prove they come from the river. I can take you there to this day and show you where I found these. It's uncanny in that respect. But that it's like, but okay, and that the story I told about that is a true story. So it's like, well, is he making this up to get clicks or something? No. I'm saying that you can find you can find things, spirit, the angels, however you want to look at this, leaves messages all around for us. Do you have faith? Do you have faith in the truth that may be coming through to you? Now you got to work that out between you and your higher self. But in all of my many years, the more let me take a drink and wow, it's been an hour and 12 minutes already. Thank you all. It says 8 people. Delaney, I'm going to scroll down here in a minute. Why is this important? Many people have not had the opportunity to have some of the experiences I have, but I have sought the experiences because I wanted to understand more about spirituality. Now, I'm not saying that any of you aren't really interested and that you really don't want to know. That's not my point. But in so many ways, are you ready to go on a walkabout? Are you ready to take 2 or 3 days, go somewhere, and go on your own private walkabout? Some kind of, and I say have an agenda, like I want to try to understand more about, I don't know, something. Pick whatever your topic is, astral projection or something. I just want to, I want to just see if, for example, if you go out in the, I say wilderness, any kind of camp that's away from, if it's just outside of or if you got a quiet spot in the city, sometimes you can go and do something. But my point to that is that you have to put forth the effort in order to get anything back. How would I have learned about giant gar jumping in my kayak if I hadn't been on the lake at, 12:01 in the morning? So you have to put yourself out there. Now, not to say that that's what you should do like me, but you have to allow yourself to see other things. If you stay in your own environment, then it's hard for you to look around because you're in your own environment. If you go in a neutral, natural environment that's less cluttery or whatever, you allow your craziness to run rampant as you just sit back with your popcorn and watch it. And the whole point to the allowing the chaos to run is that you don't get involved. And if something starts slowing up and you want to just focus on one thing, it's up to you to go, sorry, you're clogging up the system. This idea, this thought, whatever, this worry or whatever, got to go. There's a bunch of other stuff that's trying to go through. Maybe you can visualize what I'm talking about. It's like um, a clear screen and stuff comes across and you're just picking pictures or articles or whatever, but they're yours. So sometimes the visual thing is like, at first the things were very random. And then as the computer age came more light in my life, then and movies and things were showing people working on these clear screens and doing the slidey thing. I was like, that works with the chaos. Just let it run. And then so in my quote pre-meditation, I allow it to load whatever the day's MPEG video is, and I just sit back like it's a YouTube video and let it play. Take notes where necessary. But as far as allowing yourself to get involved in any of the thoughts going by, that's where the strength of no, let it go, let it go, let it go, gotta let it go. Next. And you kind of want something else to take its place. That's that. I found some things that my mind would get stuck on. I really don't want to think about that right now. Next, come on, let's force something. What's next in the queue to shove in here to take care of this? QUEQ. But anyway, as in cue the mic. But so, what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? If you can find your own visualization of something to get the point across, and if it's a video of stuff that's sort of like on fast forward, just let it play. It's when we try to intervene with our own self. So that's like me. They said, we'll show you something if you go to the river. Okay. But every time I tried to go a different direction, I felt this tug. Now, I could have just kept walking. But over the many years of practice, you feel like, wait a minute, they really want me to go over here. So, and sometimes, it literally feels like a tug, like, stop, you went too far. And, that's interesting. But I don't know if there's anybody standing right next to me or not. That's not the point. I know that in the quantum realm of the universe, in the cosmos, I'm going to tie all this together. I am tying this together. What does this have to do with everything in the cosmos? When we just think about our lives, for me, I'm a hermit, live on here on this 18 acres and the little river in the back, blah, blah, blah. That's my simple life here. But I chose it 40 years ago. So people go, wow, you really kind of got it nice. I planned on it 40 years ago. Other people went for high rises and this and that and the other thing. I bought 2 1,000-gallon tanks that are full of rainwater again right now. And now that we got 3.5, 4 inches of rain, I won't have to water the garden for a little while. But the idea is that now my tanks are full of rainwater again. And it's like, so my house is built for passive solar. It's used with a lot of concrete for thermal mass. It's only been, the high in here has only been 86 degrees when it was 101 outside. And I only use fans. There's no air conditioner. It's just the house. So people say, well, I had a $35 light bill. How did you get by with that in the middle when it's that hot? It's because they planned for it. So people who go, well, I don't know, that's impossible. No, it's not impossible. Are you willing to plan for it? People say, well, I couldn't live like that. Yeah, but I don't burn heaters. I don't have big tanks out back. I do burn propane, but one of them little 20-gallon tanks will last me 6 months. For me, cooking on the stove and whatever I need. When it's too hot in the house to cook, I can go outside and, I've got a lot of oak wood and things. If I was apt to want to cook something outside, I don't use a microwave. A lot of people, I wonder, why am I getting better? Well, for example, I stopped using the microwave. I stopped taking pharmaceutical meds. Now, I still take aspirin and ibuprofen over the counter and Benadryl. But as far as any other kind of medication, I don't. I'm in better shape than I was 3 years ago. What's getting better? What's getting better is my belief that the body can heal itself. What's better is that I believe by accepting energy from the universe, I can be a better person. I can be better spiritually. Now I'm got some bouts going on. I'm using baking soda, honey, and molasses for my melanoma. It's not shame on me. I haven't used it like I should, but the melanoma is not getting any better. But shame on me, I haven't been putting the poultice on. And now I've been guided with about the mullein, which I've got some mullein leaves here just to show you how big. And these are little tiny leaves. And if you've ever been around tobacco leaves, it's almost like a tobacco leaf. And it's green and fluffy. And these plants get over your head, and this was a small plant that I moved, and I went out there in the garden and it didn't make it. It didn't make the transplant, damn it. But anyway, so I'll go out tomorrow and get the bottom leaves off of it, let them dry. They were caked with mud. I mean, we had 3 full inches of rain in 2 hours. But anyway, and thank you, Spirit, for the rain. We really needed it. But so in my belief on things, belief in the truth, belief, my faith. What is my belief? Is it that I believe? I believe the truth that I have watched, experienced, allowed myself to understand. What's that got to do with the cosmos? Okay, if you can't deal with your next door neighbor, how in the hell are you going to deal with an alien from Antares? If I can't get along with my brothers and sisters here in this reality, how in the hell am I going to get along if my family is Palladian? How am I going to get along with my family members? I don't know how to act with them. I mean, but here's the cosmic thing about this. Does it really matter where we came from? Well, we obviously, if you look at this planet, other folks have been here and kind of seeded the place. Lots of discussion on how. It's interesting to follow the different stories. Dante, other people, lots of other theories about who, what, how, when. You just have to discern for yourself. But the thing is if you immediately say, well, that can't be possible, then never mind. You might as well give up being spiritually advanced because you've already set limits for yourself. The sky and the cosmos is the limits. So you have to have faith, trust with truth. I've seen these things. There's too many pictures of other UFOs and things. I mean, come on. Yet now, who they are and what their names are and what their purpose, I can't vouch for any of that. But let's go with just one thing. There are folks that live out there in the universe that you and I haven't met yet. Or maybe we have and we haven't known it. Or maybe we've seen them on TV, like the iRobot thing. I know I've watched Linda Moulton Howe sometimes, the way she flutters her eyes. Dante brought it up, and I'd noticed it years ago. And I was like, that's a weird behavior. People don't normally do that kind of eye flutter that fast. If you try fluttering your eyes that fast, it'll kind of make you dizzy. I mean, it's like, it's almost like looking in a strobe light. Boy, that hurt. But to the point, is she a robot? I don't know. But I can say I noticed that behavior before he brought it up. Interesting. Am I corroborating his story? I am saying I've noticed for a long time it was strange behavior. Now it does give me pause to think, clone? A lot of stuff going on out there, and clones, people's going off. I've observed these things before anyone else brought it up. I have just observed them on my own. So when somebody else brings it up, I go, yay, somebody else saw what I saw. Yay, thanks, thumbs up, cheers, everybody. Yay, somebody else saw that. I'm so glad. And it was like there was a after Pope. I hate to call the guy the Pope, and I hate to use Francis, but that guy that is the liar in the Vatican. Years ago, they were. I think it was when he made his trip to America. I think it was in Pittsburgh or Baltimore or something, and they always hand him a baby, and he looked one way when he was in this little Pope mobile thingy, and somebody handed him a baby, and his eyes went. And even the commentator who was on it said, "Wow, and they were talking back and forth. The two commentators who were, you know, observing this thing, they were like, "Did you just see his face change? Yeah, what's that all about?" Well, and then he got this really bright, cheerful face and handed the baby back, and I was like, "That's the same look that the priest who got me or tried to get me, the same kind of look." And it's creepy. And these two commentators, both men, noticed it of the Pope. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad somebody else is watching this. There is behavior going on every single moment all around us. But do you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear? And if you really understood it, you would see the truth and go, oh, shit. It's not the same as over there, like in Africa or South America. But okay, I've been to South Side of Chicago, and you don't go in there without a gun. White people don't go in there after near sundown. White people shouldn't go in there in the daytime. But and that was years ago. West Tampa in Tampa, Florida. The last time I went over there to visit some old friends and just ride through the old neighborhood. They about beat my truck to death with sticks and bottles, and wanting to toss the car over because I was some whitey in an all black gang neighborhood. And I'm like, my grandma used to own that store. We don't care. You know, things ain't the same. So I know that, in my realm down here, things are much different in quote the real world of other people. I get it. I understand it, but I have lived in it. I have lived around it. I have been through it. I have experienced it. I've lived on the streets when I lived in Tampa way back when. I know what it's like to live in a cardboard box for weeks to try to get a paycheck so you can rent a room for a few nights and actually sleep on a bed. I have been there. So when I reach my hand out and extend my heart out to people who are homeless, I have been homeless. I get it. I've been very hungry, not anything to eat. I mean, got to the point of stealing somebody's chickens one time, and after we stole the chicken, the neighbors kind of knew we did, but it came back around through somebody else who said, um, "I heard you had chicken last night," and I was like, "Oh shit, we're guilty. Why didn't you just take the eggs instead of killing his hen? Instead of having fried chicken?" And that was all that was said. "Why didn't you take the eggs?" And it was like, well, stupid. It was the hen house. So instead of looking for the eggs, we killed one of a hen. We're as bad or worse than a fox, And it's like, but the neighbors knew it was us because we were poor and hungry. But that, to the point, though, why didn't we take the eggs? Uh, So there are things that are right in front of us all the time. Angel, oh, hey, tinfoil hatter. Oh, this thing the chat it was stuck. Oh, you guys have been talking all kinds of stuff. I was like looking over there and not seeing anything. Oh, forgive me. This computer's been acting weird um, when it updated its OS. Okay. Yeah. Now, Cherry, about solar panels. I don't use solar panels per se. I use rechargeable stuff. I think this is my humble opinion. Tesla was trying to use DC power. Everybody who's got a cell phone, this device right here has a DC converter, AC to DC. It runs off a 19 volts DC. That's like a 12-volt battery and a 6-volt battery. Yeah, or two 12 volts, 24, and you just step it down to 19 volts. Thing is, that light bulb up, well, not that one, but the one up here, is an LED bulb that runs off of DC. It takes the AC power and converts it. So over my head and around me, not as much as anymore, are these LED lights with all these transformers humming, sending out EMF waves. Whereas a regular old incandescent bulb, like that one right there is, and it's much yellower instead of white. It's much easier on my eyes. I have noted a distinct difference since I stopped using an LED light for my little area right here. I got them in the kitchen and over to give me, but for my consistent, gonna hang around the light kind of thing, it's a 25-watt soft white filament bulb. And make sure there's a filament in the damn thing. They're trying to fake us out these days. But anyway, solar panels. People try to run refrigerators off of solar panels, and they try to air condition. The whole idea is that if you plan it correctly, low impact are batteries. Now that I've had to do some landscaping out here in my house, and now that we've got some rain, the ground is going to be a lot easier for me to finish smoothing it out. But I want to install, I want to do a series of ground batteries, and basically you can mix borax and zinc, different kind of things in with soil, and a positive and a negative electrode. In other words, use a zinc nail and a piece of copper wire, and you link them all together and you make an earth battery. Now the thing is, it's very low voltage, and it's been tested a long time ago about low voltage. Tesla wanted to use DC power, and they said no, you can't you can't transmit it down power lines. He didn't want to transmit it down power lines. We should be able to hold a cell phone up over our head and it charge up if we had those big dome kind of Tesla thingies, because it would be DC powered. There are televisions. When I got into electronics, everything inside a television is all DC. The highest voltage I saw in the back of my TV, and that's usually plasma kind of big screen, blah, 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 was like 56 volts DC. None of it's AC. It's all converted. And in that conversion, there's heat, there's transfer, and basically the electricity's coming in, hauling ass, and it hits a brick wall and gotta go, wait, I gotta change, and then come out DC on the other side. That's literally what happens. So it goes through this AC DC phase change thingy. But for people with solar panels, if you try to think you're going to run your house, think about running camping gear. Think about, how I've got a small solar panel. It's a 2 amp. It's for like taking camping and charging little things up. I burned up a battery because I didn't realize it was a 24 volt when the sun's shining brightly. So I realized now I have to have a step down on the DC. So if it will only go to 13 volts, which is enough to and won't burn out a 12-volt battery. 13 volts is the max that'll come out of this side, but 24 volts can come off of off the solar panel. Low voltage is the way to go. From all things, low voltage is the way we need to go with many things, because so many things are already there's all kinds of stuff you can plug to your USB port. It's all low voltage. So why not take advantage of it? We're already using it. So why do we fit our houses with all these electrical plugs and appliances when what we're plugging in nowadays are step-down transformers to get DC power? Just saying, something to consider. Anyway, people who think about, well, I want to live the way I need to live. Well, but do you need to? Do you need 300 watts? I mean, I can't believe it. There are folks that live near me. They've got a big 2-story house, sort of a plantation style with a porch around, front and one side at least, a little bay window section, upstairs with an attic dormer, nice big garage. I mean, 2,300 square feet in the house, not counting the double garage. Now it's just 2 miles up the road. It sits on back from the road, got a fence around it, and they've got that thing lit up like it was the Taj Mahal. Now, I don't know whether it's some kind of penis envy thing that they got to show everybody at nighttime what they possess, or if they're that freaking scared, somebody's going to sneak up on them. I don't know. I don't get it. But they spend all this money with all the children moved out, and now it's just him and his wife. But this thing is lit up, and there's nobody really living there. They live in fear. Just a couple miles. And we have very low crime rate or anything out here. I mean, people around here take care of stuff that happen around here. But anyway, the idea of what is true. So are your neighbors, can be true with your neighbors? Can you be true with they tell you? Can be true. Has your mother lied to you and your family? I mean, there are so many things that, has the truth been told to you? Do you have faith in what's been told to you as the truth? So I can't answer that, but you have to look around you, because spirit is looking. Spirit is leaving clues all the time. So this thing stopped again. It's not snarky. It really is open your freaking eyes. LOL. Does anyone here follow QAnon? Plantain leaves? Yes, plantain leaves. Yes, very good. Very good. I followed QAnon for a while, but there was a lot of the stuff that I've already kind of known about, and they're rehashing a bunch of things. And it's like, it's okay and all right. And I still support them in their idea and what they're doing. But this wait on every word and the big thing's going to happen and we're all going to, no. Is it a good place for everybody to join and share information? Yeah. But are they going to get me hyped up ever again? Nah. Because that, even though things have happened, it's not happened like it's supposed to have happened. And they do a good job. Trust me, I'm not trying to cut them down. It's that the information that has been coming in has not been forthwith. And they, I believe, have been led astray to try to lead us all astray. So I still watch, I still catch up, I still go in, but there's been a lot of the times that I've gone in there, and it's like, it's Southern Baptist meeting. Y'all, if you don't believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, we're not going to get through this. If you don't believe in the Lord Jesus, yes, I'm probably being snarky with this, but this is how they sound. They really do sound this way. If you don't believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, you're going to hell, and it's only us Christians. And I gotta sorry guys, out of here, boom. When you start, there's only one religion, there's only one this, and only the Lord in the Bible is, I'm sorry, y'all, just stick to, it's okay that free will, you guys talk about it, but I'm sorry, when you tell me that there are certain things in the Bible, if you don't believe this, you're not on our team. I'm sorry. I ask you to have an open mind. Believe what you see and hear. Believe the stories. Believe people who are trying to be open and tell the truth. Let us share our stories. If somebody else is, if they're not too boring, I'll sit down and listen to them. I've heard. I used to go look for stories because I'm a storyteller, and now I have my own history and stories to tell. But I used to go sit with the old men. And they were like, what are you doing over there? Because they got great stories. Well, yeah, wouldn't you like to go over here and go play? Well, yeah, but these guys are telling some really cool stories. Well, yeah, 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 yeah. But they're as a kid, hey, go get me a beer. All right, sure. Because it wasn't that I wanted. Well, I snuck a little bit of beer, but the other thing is I wanted to hang around the old guys and hear some of their stories. And when I was growing up, and I was born in '52, so there were war stories. There were people sitting around the fire thingy, whatever grill, and they had just been in the war a couple of years ago. Korea was going on, so it's like, and as a child I was just interested. What are the stories? So I don't know, for me personally, it's always been important that if somebody has lived something, their story is important, especially if they're telling you the truth. And there are people, now I was there. That fish wasn't quite that big, but he's right. He was in the boat and he damn near fell. I mean, so there are little parts of the story, and and there's chiding going on amongst folks. But the idea, though, that if we're honest with one another, if you don't want somebody to know something, then don't tell them. Instead of, well, Bishop, I will tell you a story. I was in Vietnam. No, no, no. Well, did you ever experience this? Well, there are people that have to make up a story to somehow feel important, and we should be comfortable with who we are. The truth is, we are spiritual beings. The truth is, we have been seeded by other races in the universe, not just in the solar system or this galaxy, in the entire universe. This planet, call it God, but there's a lot of information that backs up the ancient builder races. And I want to reiterate for people who say, oh, well, the Bosnian pyramids, well, they don't, and so a lot of people don't think they exist. I'm like, I'm sorry. I've seen some of the videos and the pictures. I'm sorry, they do exist. There are things buried around here that, when you start uncovering, oh yeah, there's something there, not quite sure what it was. But the idea that the ancient builder race left something like that behind is absolutely absurd in the natural order of things. Meaning, the ancient builder race left the planet as their monument. The Appalachian Mountains are a testament to the builder race. Rocky Mountains, builder race. Um, Pyramids, not the builder race. Göbekli Tepe, not the builder race. The builder race would not leave a trace of them being there because as the builder race, the planet was the prize. The whole planet is the monument. So people look at the builder race and are looking for traces. I look outside and look at the ground. There it is. Evidence of the builder race, if you will. So, where did all these species come from? I mean, for folks down under who will get this, you know, um, have you ever looked at a platypus? I mean, seriously, have you ever looked at a platypus? That was a strange invention. I don't care where you were, what you're doing. Platypus is a strange invention. But you got to believe that a platypus can exist among all the strange creatures. It's unlikely that a honeybee's supposed to fly aerodynamically. They don't know they can't fly, so they do. So what's our reality? What's the truth? Look around in nature. It's all there. Keep an eye on it. Allow yourself to accept these things. You may just, oh my God, I get it. You have to have faith in your own on what you see. I say, and because you're here, thank you very much. You're giving me an opportunity to share another point of view that's similar to many other people, not just Dante, but many other people that I've met who may be online, but people I've met before the internet was the internet. So I've got a lot of other things and stories and that make the truth what I know. You can't take it away from me. nailed me to a cross. You're not going to convince me otherwise because of what I've seen, felt, experienced, and, have been involved with on my own. So try to convince me that there aren't ghosts. Try to convince me that, sorry, and you can't make me do it. So once you learn and understand certain things, you can't unlearn it. And then it's our job, as for me for now, is to be able to just have conversation with you all on these subjects and hope that this spreads, and it will spread, and it is spreading, because I'm speaking positively into the quantum amid all this craziness. And I'm going to wrap this up here. Now, I kind of waited till the end of this. Let's see if anybody really hangs out, but there are several people here. As a silent 72 plus, are there ways that we can help the cause without having direct information from Dante, without having to understand who's going where and who's doing what? And I would like for you to put this in your brain, and think about this. When we start talking in the positive, when we stop overreacting to certain things, when we start accepting that maybe some things really are true, that, other realms, all you have to do is allow yourself, maybe it's true. That's all. Just go that far. For those really skeptical people, just go, it could be true. That's all you have to do, because that's the start of allowing the truth to come in you. And then you'll be able to notice, especially if you're tuning into your spirit guide or higher self or whatever, that they'll go, see that? And there'll be this little, ooh, that's real. Oh, crap. Really? That's real? Oh, shit. The truth as you see it, and it's being communicated with your higher self, and then that gives you the faith to move on to the next spot. It's all tied together. So, but you got to start believing that it's possible. Hypocrites, soap, oatmeal, fresh orange juice, and trying eating potatoes twice a day. David, Google Gerson therapy for your melanoma, and listen to the melanoma survivor. Nettle tea, you need more potassium and magnesium. I do take both of those as supplements. I take them every day, Sweet Pea. Thank you. I study and I am in school for herbalism and aromatherapy. I've also learned and have done the Gerson therapy. I know how to help you. Gerson, huh? Okay, thank you, Sweet Pea. Um, yeah, I've got some herbal things that I was working on here myself, but there are times when I just can't remember what yesterday was, and so it's my fault for not following my own prescription. You might have the medicine, but if you don't take it, it's not going to do you any good. That's been my case. I haven't been taking my medicine, and I should be. That's shame on me, not on what it is or where it is or what I use. Shame on me for not doing anything. That's my fault. But anyway, I thank you all. I close with my usual prayer because I think it's important. Thank you, Sweet Pea. Thank you. I'm hoping I can come back to this, and I'm going to write this down before I forget it. The Gerson. Uh, oh, oatmeal. Yes. Um, I've used oatmeal poultices in the past for other things. Sweet Pea, if you're still here. And I've got plantain growing in the garden. So I've forgotten more about herbs than I remember, but I've got a stack of books. Well, I don't know. I got a stack of books, and most of those are on herbs and herbals and things. And I've got many herbal things growing in my garden right now, along with mullein. It's pronounced mullion. Eat oatmeal. Yeah, that too. Yep, yep. Some of the oatmeal that I've got recently that I've made doesn't taste right. And I've tried all different kinds of brands of oatmeal and Sweet Pea, and I love oatmeal. But the thing is, though, it's almost like they're going, you're looking to eat that to cure yourself, but it's almost like there's poison there. It's almost like radioactive to me when I go to make oatmeal. I can't explain it. It's high in potassium. Oh, I do a lot of potassium in other ways. I'm not trying to discount what you're doing, Sweet Pea. Thank you. I'm just telling you that of all my supplements, of all the other things I do, potassium, magnesium, selenium, um, zinc, and my D and B vitamins. But um, I'm sometimes twice a day. There, I'm I'm getting a little brain dead at the moment because I've been, yep, all good. Yep, yep. I know. I've been studying it, and thank you. I really do mean that. And maybe sometime we can. I want to do a show more on some of these medicinal things, and I've got some other herbs that I picked up at the powwow back a couple of months ago, and it's time I do some preparations, and I want to make a tincture and some other things. So thank you, absolutely thank you, Sweet Pea, for your input, because we need to do these simple things. Like, for example, I've increased. I put baking soda, baking powder, baking soda in my coffee to cut the bitterness. And so there are people who are like, "What's that?" And I go, "That's baking soda." Why? Well, because it helps change the pH factor, and and I'm just used to it, but it also cuts the bitterness. So, but anyway, thank you all very much. I continue to pray for each and every one of you that you will continue to accept and receive the blessings, the healing, and the knowledge from the universe. I continue to pray that as you learn, each and every one of you will continue to share the message and the wisdom and the knowledge from the universe. I continue to pray that you, your friends, your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to spread the good vibes, the good word, and the good news, and all the things. Keep the faith. Keep your own faith. If you know it to be true, then keep it. There's love out there for each of us, and I thank each and every one of you for subbing and participating. Continue blessings to you all, and until next time, I'm Hawkeye Two Feathers down here in Southwest Georgia, saying TTFN, which is Ta Ta for now. I love you all. Till next time.